My name is Bill Batson, the author and illustrator of the Nyack Sketchlog, and I'm here with Collette Fournier to discuss her exhibition for the Arts Council of Rockland entitled Community Activism. Born in Harlem, raised in Brooklyn and Queens, New York, Collette V. Fournier has documented the African diaspora for decades as a photojournalist and fine artist. Her work has appeared in over 14 one-woman shows and 40 group exhibitions in the pages of the Rockland Journal News, the Bergen Record, About Time magazine in Rochester, New York, and the New York Post. As a Soros Fellow, she documented the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Fournier's work has been published in tabletop and textbooks, and in 2008, she received the Rockland County Executive's Visual Artist of the Year Award. Hello, Collette.
Oh, good morning, Bill.
How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for taking the time to interview me. This has been quite a process.
Well, you're very, very welcome. So I'm going to put up one of your photos. We're going to share three, and I'll ask a little bit about what we're seeing and what goes behind making these images. A sea of humanity is what is before us. In a time of a national uprising demanding police accountability, what are some of the challenges that you find in shooting a demonstration?
Wow, that's a big question. Well, first of all, getting there, and this particular demonstration was called the Million Women March. It took place in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, in 1997. And because I went to school in Rochester, RIT, I have a lot of friends who are kind of all over, photographer friends who are all over the country. So I was able to stay with a friend of mine, Jerry Williams, who shoots for the Philly Inquirer. One of the big challenges for me is that I'm claustrophobic, which kind of started appearing in my later years. So it's a little bit edgy to be in crowds. At this point in time, I had a press pass, so I was able to get on top of a scaffold and really, and I had a wide angle lens, which is really going to get as many people in as possible. And I kind of focused in on that one sign and found out from another newspaper outlet the lady's name and her age. I think she was from Ohio. And to me, it said what the whole issue was about.
It's powerful that a placard from the demonstration is actually the caption for the photo.
Yeah, because there was no other way to title it. What I found also interesting, because it was the Million Women's March, which came after the Million Man March, which I did not make it to. So I was determined, once 2 years later, I found out there was going to be a Million Women's March, that I had to be there. And actually, when you look at the photo, you could definitely see a couple of brothers that kind of, pop up in the photo. So it wasn't just women. Of course, it was a majority of women. But I think the issue is that they were trying to highlight many of the issues that people today are highlighting in the Black Lives Matter movement. And that was, issues of inequity, poor education. I just heard on a news source yesterday that many of the kids, I'm in Florida right now, so many of the kids in Florida in the 3rd grade do not pass a reading test. And that just absolutely broke my heart, because that is a standard. When a child does not pass their exams in the 3rd grade, that's a standard for jail in the future. Yep. And then again, if they don't pass in the 6th grade, oftentimes we see our youth drop out of school, lose interest in middle school, and then drop out of school in high school.
This next photograph actually brings you inside the demonstration. I was struck by the fact, I've been to many demonstrations, and you might be in a sea of 100,000 people, but if you're packed in, this is what it feels like. So why did you choose to go black and white with this photo?
Well, I think it told a better story. That's an interesting question because, right, I certainly printed it in black and white, which meant I probably shot it in black and white. I can't say I remember exactly, but it was 1991. And I was in between jobs at the time. I had just left the Bergen Record. They cut their advertising budget, and I was the last hired. So then, kind of like the first to go. No, actually, this was the second year of layoffs, and I got hung up in the second year. And I said to myself, I really have to keep my portfolio up to date because, if you go for a newspaper job, they want to see what you've done, but then also what you're currently doing. So, being in Spring Valley, which is a very huge, wonderful Haitian community, I had heard, and I probably also heard on WBAI that there was going to be a um, big rally because the Haitians at this point were accused of bringing AIDS into the country, into the United States. That was a really big time of AIDS, and I guess the government had to blame it on someone. And of course, with our interesting history with the Haitian community and the country of Haiti, the government looked to bring it, to point out to that it was the Haitians that did it. And this was at the United Nations in their sort of atrium square. And I had probably gotten there about 10 o'clock in the morning, and the rally was scheduled for noon. And I'm just talking to people and photographing and fraternizing. I'm a social person. And all of a sudden it was 12 o'clock and there were thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when I kind of discovered about the claustrophobia that kind of hit me then. So, basically I just had to, excuse me?
Those demonstrations were some of the largest demonstrations since the end of the Vietnam War. I think there were between 50 and 80,000 people at one of the Haitian AIDS demonstrations in Boston and in New York. So let's bring it a little closer to home.
Okay.
This last photograph, I see somebody familiar here. So I think that isn't that Willie Trotman, the president of the Spring Valley NAACP, and he's holding a sign that says Kamani Gray 2013. So tell us about this photo. This is our last photo. And the question I have, but when you go to these actions, do you consider yourself an observer or a participant?
I'm both. That's a funny question. It's an interesting question. It was asked of another photographer who I just saw the other evening about covering Black Lives Matter. Are you a participant or an observer? I am very much both. I am there to support the cause. I am there to document the cause. This happened to happen on the RCC campus. And of course, this is all pre-Black Lives Matter. But what's so important about the photographs is that they're leading up to that big movement. Next to Willie Trotman is Ken Mercer, who is also, he's not living in the community now, but he's also a member of the NAACP and just a real community spirit. And then of course you see the students in the background. And it was interesting because the college had security, heavy duty security come on campus. And of course, there was no reason to. The students were very peaceful. I think this maybe lasted 15, 20 minutes. And there was really no reason for the security to be there in those numbers. It was very silly to me. The students were very respectful and they just wanted to make a statement, and I was able to photograph that.
Wonderful. Collette, we're going to leave it there because we really do want people to enjoy the exhibition. For people who want to learn more, they can visit the artscouncilofrockland.org. I could not think of a more timely topic than community activism and a more suited cultural worker than Collette V. Fournier. So once again, Collette, thank you for sharing your work with us today. And we look forward to seeing your exhibit, Community Activism, sponsored by the Arts Council of Rockland, all of your work that will certainly be coming our way in the future. So once again, Collette, thank you very much.
I just need to give a shout out to Arts Council of Rockland, because I've been in the Rockland community for about 31 years now. And they have just been, always on top of their game. And like any art community, it's very difficult, but I think that they've done an excellent job in highlighting artists and helping us grow and recognizing us and all that we go through to share our art and to make our art. And thank you for your time, Bill.
You're very welcome. Thank you for bringing us along on this journey. Thank you, Collette.
You're welcome.